Hello dear friends, and today we will be talking about personality traits. What is interesting about personality traits? That after reading them, and they described in more detail in a book, the idea is that you will know what type you are, that you will be able to understand, identify your type. If we are talking about the model by itself doesn't really mean anything, without the traits. And that's why traits are the very basic criteria for understanding the type. And as sociologist and typologist, you must be able to understand these traits in yourself, to understand your type, and be able to understand these traits in others. These traits are basic because they are necessary and sufficient. So what traits we're talking about? Introversion, extroversion, rationality, irrationality. These traits come from the theory of Jung. And also dichotomic traits, logic, ethics, and intuition, sensing. There is lots of information online, and I'm sure you came across, and most of you understand very well these traits. But if you're still not sure, that would be interesting to know which ones you are not sure about. And on the opposite, it is interesting to know your experience, how you have come to understand your type through reading about these personality traits, which dichotomic traits were the most easier for you to understand, and which ones you have been in a doubt, maybe in a doubt even now. From my experience of typing people, I would say that this logic, ethics, and sensing, intuition is easier for people understand usually, and more difficulty rise about understanding extroversion, introversion, and rationality, irrationality. So that means that majority of people, if they doubt in their own type, so they will be the same group of types based on functions, dichotomic traits like logic, ethics, and intuition, sensing. If the person thinks that he knows your own club of interests, we call it that way, when these functions pair with each other, and how they pair with each other. For example, logic, sensing, logic, intuition, or ethic, sensing, and ethic, intuition. So most of the time it will be between the two. For example, logic, sensing, or sensing, logic. So not sure about introversion, extroversion, and so on. Okay, let's talk briefly about it. When I have read previously about Myers-Briggs typology, I quite liked how they identified these traits in a way that we, like for example, sensing, intuition is about how we take in information, or logics and ethics, it is how we make decisions, so how we make decisions, our preference for logics or ethics. And extroversion, introversion is about how we interact with outside world, and rationality is linked to how we take in information, sensing, intuition, and how we make decision, which is rationality. Rationality. So I'm sure you have read the book, and there is lots and lots of details in it how to understand this. I just say briefly so that introverts usually have got low energy, and they recharge when they by themselves, or how to say it, by themselves, when they're doing something on their own. It can be any activity, sewing or reading or writing or painting and so on. And extroverts, they usually have got lots of energy, and they would like this energy to share with others, to be in a group of people or making some activities, going out, having hobby somewhere in outside world and so on, while introverts are happy to sit at home and do their own things. We usually say that introverts are more reserved and extroverts are more open. But as with every dichotomy, you know that it depends, because we will have some very bright extroverts, very bright introverts, very easy to understand, and we will have lots of people who will be balanced, who will not know exactly are they extroverts or they are introverts. And that depends on many different issues, but it is also situational. For example, I'm an introvert, but my second function is extroverted, so it is sensing, extroverted sensing. So what does it mean? That I can be very active depending on situation. I can take leading roles as well, and when I take leading roles, when I do lecture or something like that, when there is no one to take the place, I know I have to do it, then people might look at me and say, oh, she's an extrovert, or if I, for example, go to repair the house, I can work from morning till evening doing things and being very, very active. Yes, this is activity, of course, on my own, but that's how extroverted sensing comes into place. I'm doing things, sometimes I say I'm an action person. But again, if I am in a group of people, if we, for example, having a meetup, and if there are people who are happily to have a talk, who have a lot to say and so on, I will be just sitting and listening and feeling peaceful, and being happy, because by too much talking, and in particular when there are new people around me and so on, I'm losing the energy. Sometimes I felt, well, it's not really nice to say, but when I had meetups and you meet new people and you kind of feel responsible for organizing so that the meetup is interesting and so on, I'm just like a squeezed lemon after that. And I have got like a bitter aftertaste. Just, I don't know, sometimes it's difficult to describe, but I do not feel good. To the point that sometimes you think like you are antisocial, but it's not exactly the same. You're just happy to be on your own, and you're happy to be with a group of people your closed one and so on, and then you can be very happy when there are people that you already know and you feel free. But if I'm in a group and some people are quiet, maybe they're newcomers, maybe they don't know what to say, then I feel also a little bit tension that I have to fill in the gaps and so on. And I don't in particular like this, but sometimes we have to do it. And that's, I am introvert with extroverted sensing as a second function. But if you consider some ethical introverts whose second function is not action but is actually emotion, yeah, and this is like we call Yesenin or Dumas in particular, yeah, for example, because their creative function is emotion, and this is where they become very, very active. They become very much talking. They try to uplift the mood. Um, Sometimes talk too much and so on. Some people, some extroverts might even say like, oh, you know, dominating the field, always have got to say. But that is situational. And that is why we cannot just make our judgment, evaluation of the type based on a particular situation. We really need to ask all these questions which are listed in the book, like what the person prefers, what his hobbies and activities, and so on. How does the person recharge, and etc. and etc. And there are also, you know, as a typist, typologist, we always have to be have a little bit self-doubt and a little bit of critical mind, because there are people who are extroverts but they look like introverts, yeah. In particularly, it is true about Don Quixote, intuitive logical extravert, yeah, who might be very have got very active minds. They read a lot of information, but they might not come out as a very extroverted on this scale. So that's what we need to remember. Okay, so yes, and just saying a little bit more upfront, in socionics we have got intertype relationship theory, and this theory says like the best couple, complementing each other, is extrovert and introvert. Not necessarily, because there can be couples of two introverts and two extroverts. That's all possible. Because, you know, if you consider that some introverts are on a balanced scale and they may be not that much reserved, and if the partner is more reserved, then the other introvert take a role of more extroverted person. So it's pretty flexible. So we need to remember about this as well. Okay, next we coming to rationality. I quite like how in Myers-Briggs typology they described rationality as a judgment and irrationality as a perception. And if you read the book, it's actually from page 7, all of that, to page 12, yeah. So you might have noticed that I do write about it, that rational people, there are lots of markers how we think rational people differ from irrational people, yeah. Judging people, rational people, their frame of mind is judging, and judging doesn't change very quickly. Generally talking, database of the person, whatever he knows, you know, doesn't change very quickly. But with the rational people, it is more true, because it takes more time, more experience to change the view of the world, yeah. And the rational people, they're more flexible, you know, from one day to another they may change their decisions based on a perception. So they have got more tuned perception into outside world. Yes, because irrational people a little bit more like it's just the way I say it, but what I'm saying, of course, not like animals, but animals are very perceptive and very flexible, very adaptive. And we say that irrational people, they don't really need words. They kind of intuitively and they sensitively, they kind of feel the situation. And for example, if they feel that the phone atmosphere is changing, like conflict is coming or something, very quickly they will be away, out of the room, and so on and so on. They are very quickly to adapt. And rational people will think, okay, let's talk, let's understand what is it wrong. They don't really yet feel something coming, because they are judging. They need to understand. And that's why we say that the couple's compatibility is better between rationals and between irrationals. If people need to talk, if they need time to understand something, they need exactly the same person, and they will be talking and understanding and so on and so on. And some people don't need that many words. They kind of understand each other on an intuitive level, and so on and so on, and they will avoid maybe conversation sometime. Yes, so this actually judging perception is where we see also very good in when we analyze the art. Yeah, because perception is interested in something new, in something unusual, something interesting. Should be something interesting in the environment to attract your attention. That is the perception. While the judging types, yeah, rational types, they need to understand first what they see, and so on and so on. And the easier for them to understand, the more sense it makes for them. There are other markers for rational, irrational, like we usually say, rational people like structure, like predictability, steadiness. They cannot very quickly to change and their plans. They usually say, oh, you should tell me there and then, in a while. While irrational people can be more flexible and make decisions on the spot to do something or not to do something. We usually say that rational people, what did I want to say? Yes, that they have got like more tidiness at home, like they like everything in order, but that's not exactly true. We need to remember that is could be balanced. For example, the person might have what is it balanced on rational, irrational, for example? The person might have the whole kitchen full of, flying dirty dishes, not tidiness, but the table where he sits, for example, where he plays computer or something, will be very clear. Yes, so, and some irrational types can be very tidy as well, so that's probably not the very good marker. Okay, we move further to logic and ethics. Logics and ethics, how we take decisions. But firstly, sorry, I should say about sensing and intuition, because this is how we take in information, how we perceive information. Sensing types like hands-on activities, details, they like to experience things. They cannot really predict. They usually say, let me try it on. And when you go, for example, to the shop, even if it is a suit or shirt or dress, seems to be your style, and you think, yeah, it should be okay, you still need to try it on, and only then you can get enough information to make the decision. Yeah, And to intuitive types, they make they take information like, it's just like they say, like a lamp, getting bright, switching on if something interesting, somebody says something, and something that is like inside. They just know because they know that that is interesting or that is not interesting. And they usually, intuitive types, usually with their mind, they wander into the past or dream about the future. They might sometimes get lost in time, like falling out of time, while sensing type are very realistic, always live in a real world, in a concrete world, and always ask details, because they cannot just imagine things. They don't really good in fantasizing things as well. And sometimes for sensing type, intuition can create real problems because their imagination start to play like on their mind, that something wrong may happen. For example, if you go on a trip, and if they see that your bag is not really closed very well, or somewhere there is a little hole or something, they might become very agitative, almost panicking that this bag will fall apart during the flight, transference and so on. So that's what it is. Sometimes they cannot sleep at night because they start to imagine things which are not there, but they think it may happen. So intuitive types better evaluate information of more abstract nature, not concrete but abstract nature. And sometimes when I was on the forums, and when I read what discuss people of intuitive types, and in particular if it is two Balzac's intuitive logical types, I just cannot understand at all. For me it is like a different language. Yeah. So, and the last one is ethics and logics. It is how we make decisions. So ethical types, they understand and take into account people's emotions, people's feeling. They see deeper how the person is, how he's feeling, and so on, and they take it into account when they make decisions. They are maybe more considerate, more sympathetic to people, and so on. But logical types, they are more rigid in their evaluation of people. They base their decision-making process based on facts, details. They talk objectively, judge more objectively. So that's already 23 minutes I'm talking. So and probably this is you knew anyway already very well about all these traits. What I would like to finish is that it would be nice if you share information on you, how you have come to understand types, what was your experience, what was easy for you, what was not easy for you to understand, and if you have got a practice of typing on the forums, yeah, or with your friends. So which out of these dichotomic traits maybe is easier for you to understand? Maybe you know particularly some sort of questions, maybe you have got your own questionnaire, and what is more difficult, yeah, to understand because of these types. So, and kind of, when I described them in the book, I thought, okay, now you read, now you have got at least some idea, what is your type, yeah. And it would be great if you share with the group at least something about your type, yeah, like if your program function is ethical or logical, how does it you experience, how does it come to realize in your life, in your real world, and what maybe troubles you will have with the other functions, which are weak, yeah, in your type. So that's it for now, and we will discuss in more detail the types in the next week. Yeah, I would advise you to start a little bit talking, because I mean, writing comments or something, telling about yourself, maybe asking questions if you have got any, because it will be more interesting for you to learn in the group. You know, if you just watch my videos, um, that's probably will be not that interesting enough. Okay, goodbye.